We are not coming to you live from your microwave, but we are back with an all-new episode. California Congressman Eric Swalwell joins us to discuss future form, and we've got the latest on the Trump administration's new budget, Trump Care, the Comey hearings, and Chelsea Galicia officially joins the show. It's Tuesday. Welcome to Political Culture.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, Political Culture.
Hey guys, welcome to Black Hollywood Live and AfterBuzz TV's Political Culture. I am your host, Drexel Hurd. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Drexel Hurd. I am joined officially by Miss Chelsea Galicia on the show.
Yay, thank you for having me officially.
Welcome back.
I love how you just sort of kind of told me officially, like this weekend at your engagement party, that this was like my new full-time gig.
I did. That's how we do it here in Hollywood, because you don't have a lot of time. But
I'm so happy to be here, and especially with our first guest today.
This is our first guest, and I'm very excited. We'll talk to him in just a second. Be sure to use the hashtag ABTVPolyculture to join the conversation. If you're in the chat room, hello.
That's
also,
P-O-L-I,
P-O-L-I.
not like multiple cultures.
Not like poly.
Okay, good.
No.
Just checking.
Follow us on Twitter at ABTV Polyculture, and follow AfterBuzz at AfterBuzz TV. We're going to get to all the latest in Washington because there is so much to unpack from the last couple of weeks. But first up, he is the congressman from the 15th District here in California. He's a member of the House Intelligence and Judiciary Committee, a millennial leader, and the chairman of the Future Forum in the House of Representatives. Welcome to the program, Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Drexel, Chelsea, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Like I said before we went live, you had a busy day today, so you guys can check out his interviews.
Is this stop number 5 for you? Just today?
This is stop number late.
This is
for
stop
us.
number.
I started with Morning Joe, and we had, of course, our work continues in Congress. We had a hearing yesterday on the investigation into Russian interference, and it's only Tuesday.
It's only
shaping up to be a long
and it's only
week.
2 months into the Trump administration, so it's going to be a long 4 years if we get to that
Can we
point.
bring you some kale smoothies? Is there something we can do to keep your spirit up?
I would love that. And, we still have a Thursday vote on the repeal effort of the Affordable Care Act, which I hope does not happen, but we are barreling toward that.
Which, from what it sounds like, the GOP might not be able to get their act together. The Speaker might not have enough votes for that. But let's talk quickly just about yesterday's Intelligence Committee hearing. So did you learn anything from yesterday's testimony? Did you learn, like Chairman Nunes learned yesterday, about Roger Stone and Carter Page? Because he kind of like just heard about them yesterday, apparently. But was there anything from yesterday's testimony with James Comey and Mike Rogers that you learned that's new?
I've been connecting the dots between Donald Trump and his team as far as personal, political, and financial ties with Russia now for the last few months. We've also been connecting the dots as to the Russian government and the interference campaign they ran in our last election. And the question that we've asked is, was there a convergence of these ties and Russia's interference? And that concern was validated by Director Comey telling the Congress that under these extraordinary circumstances, he was going to reveal an active investigation into the Trump team with respect to the Russia interference campaign. So I feel like the concerns we've expressed have been validated. We now just want the FBI to follow the evidence, pursue all leads, and hold anyone accountable if they did work with Russia.
There are some people that either have already or are losing faith in Comey based on what he came out with before the election. Do you have faith in him?
I do, and I think the last election, is the past. We're in the now, as you can see. The now is quite messy, and we just want to make sure never again does a foreign entity or a foreign adversary like Russia attack our election and work, if they did, with any U.S. persons.
And then let's just say that there is, some serious evidence to show this link. Is impeachment the next step?
Maxine Waters seems to think so.
I'm focused on the I word that is investigation, because I think we have to, first investigate, get to the bottom, call the witnesses in, review the documents, including his tax returns, and then, again, follow the evidence. So I don't want to, prejudge what the end of this investigation would be or where it would take us.
Congressman Schiff has been making his rounds a lot. And,
making me proud to have him be my rep.
You guys are making us proud here in California,
He's
which
good.
is really great.
He's good.
in terms, I mean, obviously there are a lot of things that as regular Americans who don't have security clearance and as a member of the Intelligence Committee, you do. Is there any evidence that we, the American people, can't see that you can say, there's actually more than meets the eye, but we just can't discuss that? Because there's a lot of things that James Comey said yesterday that kind of suggested that there was more than he could reveal throughout his testimony.
There's a public report with respect to what Russia did in the interference campaign, and behind that public report is substantial evidence of Russia attacking us. And I have reviewed that in my duties on the committee. But what we want to see now is whether the connections that Donald Trump and his team have with Russia, extended to working with Russia. And I just want to walk just briefly through what we did in the committee yesterday, which was starting with showing that Russia is different than Australia or Great Britain or Mexico. I mean, this is a country that has been and still is a foreign adversary. Then showing the different ties, then going through how Russia traditionally uses financial distress and financial influence to try and get somebody on their side, then going through the policy changes that we saw from the Republican Party at their convention that was done at the behest of the Trump team, the Attorney General who, as Senator Sessions, opposed Russia and wanted to vote against any treaties with Russia, who now is a very pro-Russia Attorney General, to Michael Flynn, who was going over to Russia and then lying about it when he was asked under oath, when he was asked by the Vice President if he had any contacts with the Russian ambassador. So you're seeing policies change at the same time that the Russians are running their interference campaign. So that's pretty, I think, damning evidence that there were connections, policies were changing, Russia's not our friend, and most importantly, we need to know, were they working with Russia? So there's a lot more to dig into on this, and we're really only in the first inning of this investigation.
So then my question is, with all of that evidence that you just kind of laid out to me and Chelsea, which just makes sense to us, why is it that Republicans seem to be so focused on how that information got out? Why can't they focus on both? Is that something that you're hearing from your colleagues, like, well, we actually can only focus on one because that's what we're being told to focus on? Or, I think it was Representative Elena Ross-Leath, who's on the Republican side, like, she had some very specific questions, and they weren't connected, they weren't focused on the leaks. So why is it that Republicans can't seem to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time?
It was frustrating that the lesson that they took away from the director of the FBI saying the president and his campaign are under investigation was, well, what about the leaks? I mean, that's the wrong lesson to take away from this. I hope, and I'm still optimistic, that this will be an opportunity to unite, for them to finally have reality set in and understand that, they don't have to defend somebody who has been so disloyal to our intelligence community and has demoralized their work, and that, we can just follow evidence. That's, what we should do on this committee, and I hope they see that as a liberating experience yesterday.
Well, hopefully we will get some answers. I know you've got a few more members of the Trump administration, or past members of the Trump administration, or what do they call them, kind of like sideshow people? That's what Sean Spicer called them.
Michael Flynn was just working phone banks.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Was Manafort, the campaign manager, just tangentially involved? Right.
So hopefully we'll see some things next week. So thank you for your work on the intelligence hearing. So you've been working with the House of Representatives on Future Forum. Can you kind of explain what you've been working on with Nancy Pelosi and how Future Forum came about, and what you guys are working on now?
Yeah, Leader Pelosi came to me a couple years ago and said, boy, we've got a pretty young Democratic caucus, and you guys are pretty connected to what young people are caring about and doing across the country. Why don't we take that on the road and more formalize it? So I took our youngest members, it's 26 of us now, and, Drexel, we came in being confused for the interns, and then we sort of, I think, graduated to being the IT help desk, helping our senior members set up Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram accounts. And then I think in short order, we were recognized as being millennial whisperers and being called upon to understand and speak to the issues of our generation. And so we've gone to about 37 cities now in the last couple years, listening to young people wherever they gather, community colleges, workforces with a lot of millennials, and then coming back to Washington, D.C. based on what we learn and standing up for those folks with the policies we craft, whether it's college affordability, giving people access to this new economy, or making sure that they can realize the American dream of home ownership.
So when it comes to are you guys coordinating with the national committee? How is that coordinated? Because Democrats seem to have a millennial problem, or at least kind of had a millennial problem during the campaign. Is there some coordination with the House members and what Chairman Perez and Deputy Chairman Ellis are going to be working on, or are you guys separate entities? Because I think that some people might might be confusing for people because there's so many different ways they can be involved, and it's not one message.
We sent a letter to every Democratic National Committee candidate for the chair position that asked, would they commit to spending as much on millennial outreach as the Republicans have? And we were encouraged that DNC Chair Tom Perez, has told us that he wants to work with us. He wants to make sure that we not only meet that commitment, but exceed it. And so I do think there's opportunities going forward. And you know what? We can learn a lot from Bernie Sanders and how he reached out to millennials, because I don't think it's just being a young person connecting with a young person. He showed that the oldest candidate in the race, who was being authentic and standing up for democratic values, could also connect with young people. So I think there's a lot to learn there.
And do you think that young people are still in this, still as big a Bernie fan and still as close to the policies that he wanted as when, Bernie was sort of in the race?
They do. They want a debt-free education. They want to make sure that they have access to health care, especially if they're moving from job to job in such an unstable economy. They want money out of politics. They understand that it has a corrupting influence, and that if we had a public financing system, that we would probably have, I think, a more collaborative Congress that reflects the collaboration that you see in our generation. And I think our Future Forum members are hearing that, are not just talking that, but walking that in what we do back in Washington.
Speaking of money and politics, I saw on your website that you have a long list of bills that you've co-sponsored regarding cleaning up money in politics, campaign finance reform, and some of them seem so objective that either side could have sponsored any of these. Do you have much bipartisan support? Are there Republicans that are co-sponsors of any of? I can't remember if it's like 7 or 8 of them that you had listed that seem pretty neutral. And gerrymandering, I mean, voting rights, we know that one party doesn't like voting rights so much. But really simple, basic things that it seems that either party could be behind.
Chelsea, what I have found is that it's actually talking to the former members, the former Republicans. I was just talking to one last night, and he was saying, he spends so much time having to do fundraising, and we've got to fix that. And he's right. We do spend way too much time doing fundraising. I think the outside influence of corporate dollars, because of the Citizens United case, is also really, I think, taking the Republican Party, especially, to the far right. And so I would like to get money out of politics, but I would like to find not just former members who agree with me, but current members, because it's going to take the courage of Republicans to really put, I think, free and fair elections without the influence of money forward. That's what it's going to take.
Maybe you can help Drexel and I settle an ongoing debate that we have.
All right.
My position is that money in politics is the biggest linchpin of many of the problems that we face, from mass incarceration to corruption of food supply, what's going on in healthcare, big farm. But many of the problems that we have, if we took out the role of money in politics, would alleviate a lot of the problems, if not fix a lot of them. Drexel's priority on getting money out of politics isn't with the same enthusiasm as mine is. So should we be, and I believe that we should be rallying millennials and Democrats to get behind this money out of politics cause first and foremost, because it will take care of so many other problems, I believe. Drexel's a little like, well, I'll let him speak for himself, but not so much enthusiastic about being so focused on that issue. How important do you think that issue is?
Chelsea, the policy purist in me says it's the most important thing we
Yes.
can
Does that
do.
mean I win?
But the political nature of this
dang.
is that no voters are going to the streets with signs that say, take money out of politics
Wait,
in
hold
mass
on.
numbers.
Wait.
And that's what's so frustrating because
I
as
was
you just
there. I got
as you
arrested
just
last year.
is-
Did you hear Democracy Spring when, like, what was it, 1,200 of us over the
You know
course?
what? I did see you. I did see you.
Yes.
You guys came to Washington. I remember you. My office building is right next to the Capitol. I remember you walking by.
I know
down
you're being
the Capitol.
funny, but I really was there, and I really did get arrested for, and that's what we were all marching with the signs, money out of politics. You know, corruption is, you know, alive and well in America. So it's a real thing, and some of us are, just probably not as many as you'd like to see.
I would love to see so many more because it is the root of our inability, I think, to do the right thing. Whether it's on gun violence, that's one where it's very frustrating. Whether it's on clean energy, clean oil, I'm sorry, clean air, clean water policies to get the dirty oil money out of politics. And so many of these policies are held back because so many members live in fear of a couple $1 million being dropped on their head because they're not conservative enough. And so collaboration is a bad word. And I hope that we can change that in my time here in Congress.
I just want to ask one question. I mean, I don't want to get into the debate of where money falls because John Ostroff, he's got his campaign in Georgia right now, and the super PACs are descending on the Georgia 6th right now. Are you and a few of the other Democratic young leaders going to go down there and help them out?
I'm going to be down there. I'll be down there in the second week of April, right before the election. Younger members will be joining me. And we're actually making phone calls in my congressional district to volunteer for him, and also asking people to make small dollar contributions to him so that he has the resources that he needs.
Well, we definitely, good luck down in Georgia. Good luck to John Ostroff as well. Where can everybody follow you on Twitter? Because your Twitter lights
Very
up my
entertaining.
day.
Love it. Keep it
Yeah,
up.
and at
You
Rep
and Ted
Swalwell,
Lieu.
REPSWALWELL is my official Twitter account, and the same is for Snapchat. That's where the best stuff happens because it disappears in 24 hours.
Oh, gosh,
And where
we're
can
not
they
even-
find more information?
Except for
about-
the Russians. I think they have all that
They
stuff.
probably do. Where can they find more information about Future Forum?
So go to our website, swalwell.house.gov, and they'll learn where we've been, what we're hearing, and what we're going to do next.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
We'll let you
Drexel.
get to
Thank
sleep.
you, Chelsea.
Good luck next week. Thank you so much.
Of course. My pleasure.
Like we said, you guys can follow Representative Swalwell at Rep Swalwell. He is so funny. He is so great
Keeps
on
me
Twitter. He's
entertained
got
for
so
days.
many charts. There's a chart that Chelsea and I talked about the other day. It was like
A
a web of Trump's connections to Russia. So you guys have to check that out. Make sure you guys follow him. Lots to unpack because I'm not even going to touch the money and politics conversation. Even though we could talk about that all day. Comey Intelligence Committee hearings, you watch it yesterday?
Yeah, for sure. Well,
was-
I mean, not when it was live super early in the morning, but later on. Yes,
I was watching.
did.
I was sitting at work and I was watching it because watching it on YouTube live, and there was so much that was happening. I think I texted you and was like, "This thing is crazy. There's so much crazy happening."
And I think my response was, which part of the crazy was your favorite?
I don't know because Adam Schiff was on. Adam
That-
Schiff was on fire. Actually,
was-
all the Democratic members
if
were on
you
fire.
are not very clear about the whole Russia timeline and the whole Russian connection, watch that. I think it was like a 10-minute clip of Adam Schiff going through exactly the timeline of who connected with who and how it all works. It was laid out beautifully. He's a former prosecutor, so he laid out the case very clearly. And at the end was like, I don't know. It could be just coincident that X, Y, and Z happened, and then ABC and 1, 2, 3, but maybe not. And it just makes it, without asserting any of the new allegations, just based on the facts that we've already ascertained, it seems like a pretty sure thing to me that they're going to find something. Yes.
Like it. I mean, who couldn't? Who probably was a great prosecutor who could not seem to get it together was Trey Gowdy. Once again, Trey Gowdy proves that he is not a good person.
I missed that. Why is that?
He's just, every time he gets up there and talks, he was like bringing up Hillary Clinton. He was bringing up Barack Obama. Like, he was bringing up people in the Obama administration the whole time, and you're like, why would you even bring that up? I was actually going to ask Congressman Swalwell just about, like, they brought up evidence. I said, have you seen any evidence that suggests that the Clinton administration, that the Obama administration, or that the Clinton campaign, or that the Sanders campaign, or any Democratic campaign would have been involved with Russia in Russia at all, or in the way that Donald Trump's campaign was involved with Russia? Because it seemed that the line of questioning was not only on the leaks that we talked about from Republicans, but who else they can blame outside of the Trump administration.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the other thing that I liked that Comey didn't address in the hearing, but only addressed it when he was asked, was about the wiretapping claim that Barack Obama had Trump wiretapped, and he didn't. It seems like Comey's like, I'm not buying into that distraction.
Right.
I'll answer it if you ask me, but I'm not going to talk about it in the opening remarks.
And I just want to be clear with everybody, because I don't think that people understood. There was a part in the in James Comey's testimony where he said the Justice Department allowed me to say X, Y, and Z, and Jeff Sessions has recused himself from this investigation, so he cannot make that call. So that falls on the Deputy Attorney General, who is a holdover Obama appointee, who cannot go anywhere yet because she's really the only one that can really sign anything. And Democrats are really holding on to Trump's nominee for Deputy Attorney General right now, basically until this is all over.
Smart play. And the other smart thing that I didn't realize until I heard somebody talk about it last night was that it was smart of Comey to come out and say that there is an ongoing investigation into the Trump connection to Russia, because if once it's public, Trump can't fire enough attorneys, U.S. attorneys, to kill the investigation. It can't be quietly undone now that it's been publicly announced. And so I think that it's got some really deep foundational legs to stand on, that they can try and pick off people left and right, attorneys, and I don't think it is going to work to shut down the investigation, because I think
it's just getting started.
But I think that they were going to try, unless Comey came out with it publicly, they could have still tried to eat it from the inside out, and so that it just never saw the light of day.
You know what wasn't smart of James Comey to say, though?
What's that?
Was that the investigation started in July.
Why?
They started the investigation on the Trump campaign in July, at the same time that the Clinton that James Comey came out and said the Clinton campaign was under investigation, or Hillary Clinton was under investigation as well. So when he came out in that big old press conference and said what he said about Hillary Clinton, they were the FBI was investigating the Trump campaign at the exact same time.
So that's probably why there are a lot of people who are pissed at Comey and don't really believe that he's going to do a great job with this investigation. They've totally lost faith in him. And so then you're like,
but I think this puts. I think the fact that he said that out loud probably puts up a little bit more pressure on him, and it's probably going to come from people like Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell and some senators and some Democratic senators as well, because they've got to go through this whole thing again in the Senate Intelligence Committee. So I'm pretty sure that one of the Democrats are going to come out full-throated on why, James Comey, did you not have this conversation about Donald Trump's campaign at the same time that you were out there talking about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and there's a lot of Democrats that don't believe in him. I kind of agree with Representative Swalwell, who just said he has faith in Comey to come through and really do a great job with this investigation.
He does. I think James Comey does have a level of respect about his. I mean, he loves his job, I'm sure, but I think that when you get caught up in it, he just got caught up in it, and maybe he just didn't have a good relationship with Loretta Lynch. I don't know. But that wasn't the only thing that happened, like, this week and last week and yesterday. Donald Trump released his budget, or what his proposed budget was.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to look at that blueprint? Run through?
Yeah, well, you want to know where I got most of my information about this blueprint? Try not to laugh at me, but I think it's a really good source. It was from John Oliver's show. He did a really great job this weekend on breaking it down and making it hilarious so that I wouldn't cry when I was seeing all the agencies that were being cut or completely defunded.
Yeah. It is the America First, a budget blueprint to make America great again. I'm a little bit tired of hearing that slogan again, because
Can we just agree that we will never say it here?
Right. And I always say, Donald Trump was at a rally yesterday in Louisville, Kentucky, and I remember I'm like, first of all, why do you have to keep saying it's your job to just do it? Like, why aren't you just doing it?
Well, I mean,
And,
I guess if he says it enough times, he'll have people believe that it's actually happening.
Right. I don't know. But let's talk about some of those cuts that you talked to. EPA, 30%.
Yes, because this was a great clip that they showed on John Oliver's show. Because we only need a little of the environment. That's literally a quote. We only need a little bit of it.
Right.
But we can't get in the way of jobs. What I don't understand is why can't he help create jobs that are clean energy? We all know that coal is on its way out anyway. Even the coal miners in McDowell County, West Virginia, at the Bernie Town Hall said, we know that coal has been on the decline since like the 70s or 80s. We know even that Trump can't bring coal jobs back. The delegate from West Virginia who voted for Trump acknowledged, yeah, I don't really think that he's going to bring coal jobs back.
Right. Which is crazy. I mean, and it's crazy. I mean, we've talked about it before, where Hillary Clinton's plan, Bernie Sanders' plan was to talk about, was to help them transition out of coal jobs to more clean energy jobs, and the government would have paid for it. But instead, we're making cuts to State Department, down 28% to $25.6 billion, which is the lowest since 2007. We're making cuts to the Labor Department, down 21%. We're making cuts to Health and Human Services, which that probably doesn't even include the cuts to the repeal that they're trying to go down. And then you talked about some programs that they're eliminating.
Right, so National Endowment of Arts and Humanities and
The
Public
Corporation
Broadcasting.
for Public Broadcasting. Actually, did you see there was a clip, I'll have to tweet it out one day, but there was a clip of Elmo. I don't think it was a Sesame
I used to watch
Street sanctioned.
Sesame Street. I really do think half of my intelligence comes from having watched Sesame Street when I was a kid. I mean,
Yeah.
there's probably no way I can prove that, but I remember going to school feeling a little ahead of the kids because of watching Sesame Street.
Yeah,
True story.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Sesame Street. Actually, I still watch a lot of Sesame Street.
And Mr. Rogers.
And a lot of Mr. Rogers, too.
really
So
liked him.
CBS and Corporation for Public Broadcasting, obviously very important. Legal Services Corporations, you're a lawyer.
Yeah, our services are important, even though I don't like being a lawyer. But yes, legal services are important.
Not just the National Endowment of the Arts, but the National Endowment for Humanities, and of course the big one that everybody's been talking about this week, which is Meals on Wheels, which serves 500,000 veterans each year. From this is based off the Older Americans Act, which was signed about 50 years ago, and it serves over 200 million meals a year. And there was a I think there was a
Eating is optional.
Yeah, you can't eat, or you can't breathe, according to the Trump administration. Actually, you just can't live.
But you know, the only thing that makes me, this makes me sad, but it makes me like, you know, I can't get that worked up about it, is that the people that are most harmed by this budget are the very people that voted for him. And yeah, I feel bad for them, but I cannot get myself all stressed out and not sleeping because of these people who are going to lose out on these services that they voted essentially to have cut from them in electing Donald Trump.
But in with Donald Trump, I mean, don't you feel like these people thought that he was going to help them? Like, if you listen to them.
No reasonable, rational person that can look at a history of a person. He didn't just come on the scene and he's never cared about really anything but making money. There's nothing in Donald Trump's history that would suggest that he really cares about the people that he claimed to care about on this campaign.
Right.
I don't really understand, I mean, a little bit, because I wasn't the biggest Hillary fan, as you know, the desperation to vote for somebody who has no track record of giving a hoot about anybody and somebody that's going to help make him money. And you just see through the campaign that he was full of it.
Right.
And so that people bought it. I don't want to give people too hard of a time about it, because I think that makes it harder for people to come out and acknowledge that they've made a mistake, that they voted against their own interests.
But they've been doing it for years, which is crazy.
So I don't want to harp on it too much, but I feel terrible for the people who did not vote for him, whose Meals on Wheels are going to get cut.
Right.
But
I will say this, you know what did not get cut? The defense budget.
No.
The defense budget, once again, up 10%. And if you know me, it's up 10% to $574 billion a year.
And that 10% increase doesn't sound like a whole lot comparison to like 30%, 28% cut for the EPA
Right.
and the State Department. But 10% in dollars is like $54 billion increase. And if people think that's going to make us safer, that's going to make us safer, I think that's another falsity that they're buying into. You know, the people that are really thrilled about this are the defense contractors.
Right, which I was, yeah.
They're going to make a boatload of money on new weapons and airplanes and things like that. But I hope that people watch. There was a really incredible Vice episode on the waste in Afghanistan. If people saw how wasteful we are with our military spending, I think people would be appalled at the idea of giving the military $54 billion
You know what it
more.
is? It's Trump wants that 21 gun salute that he wanted, that flyover that he wanted for his inauguration, and that the Defense Department told him no.
Because there wasn't enough in the budget?
I'm just going to assume that's what he's going to make up. He's going to say, I wanted that to fly overhead, and they told me I couldn't have it. So here's another 50. Because
Well, maybe if he then reimburses taxpayers for Secret Service protection of
from Mar-a-Lago and Trump Tower.
and right, which is I don't know, I didn't get it fact checked, but $183 million a year to protect Trump Tower, Melania,
And that's not
Barron.
just, and for folks out there, that's not just federal government money. That's also New York money. Like the federal government has to pay that, what Chelsea just said, and then New York has to pay a portion out because they have to pay the cops and everybody to kind of protect them
And
from the city
$183
portion.
million is bigger than National Endowment of Arts,
Right.
which was like not even $150.
And Meals on Wheels.
Right.
But so what we have seen from defense secretary to defense secretary, including the current defense secretary, which is nobody ever asked for this money. There is not a single defense secretary or military personnel, at least that has come out publicly, that has said, hey, the Defense Department needs a 10% increase.
And it's because there are people who believe if you put more money in the military, we will be safer. But it's actually not true.
Which is not true, because what would make us safer is if they didn't cut the State Department aid down 28%.
Because you're cutting diplomacy. is
Diplomacy
what you're
first,
cutting. Yeah.
and defense. Military spending after. VA is only up 6%. Homeland Security is only up 7%, which is crazy.
It's not.
It's crazy. Like that. I mean, that's only 3%. That's only 3% up more than what the defense budget
Did we
got.
include in the graphics that we're going to show that cartoon that I sent you? It was a cartoon.
I think so. I think we've got the wall. Let's pull up the wall.
Oh,
real
yeah,
quick.
there it is. It
This
says-
section made possible by eliminating the National Endowment for the Arts.
I thought that was.
I think that's what
really
should
great.
happen. I think Democrats should put a provision in the wall bill that says, you know, each section of the wall has to say
What got cut
in order to build this wall.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So put that in the bill, Eric Swalwell, Congressman Swalwell, and Adam Schiff, and anybody else who wants to come on the show. So if you guys can, you know, I wanted to talk about how this bill, how this helps the budget. I mean, it really only brings down it really doesn't really bring down the federal deficit at all.
Not at all.
So it really doesn't help at all. So, you know, when we talk about these bills, when it comes down to,
And I thought Republicans are so fiscally conservative and balanced budget and the whole shebang, bringing down the debt.
yeah.
I mean, I guess Trump didn't talk about that in the campaign, so it's no longer a
and
priority.
he also didn't talk about it in Louisville, Kentucky. And you know what else he really didn't care for yesterday?
Ruh-roh.
The American Health Care Act.
Oh, he
Congressman,
didn't care.
he not that he didn't care for it.
Oh, okay.
He just, I think, you know, I've been reading articles all day where it said he's just kind of, at this point, I think he's kind of exasperated
Well,
about
I'm
it.
a little confused because out of the White House, I hear this is a first step. This is a first step. There's still negotiation to be done.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, I hear Trump saying to Republicans behind the scenes, "You better get this passed, otherwise you're going to
On
lose
Thursday.
your job in 2018."
I just want to run down, I've got the Congressional Budget Office estimate, the CBO estimate, which basically.
You may be one of 5 Americans who actually printed that out.
Well, I
and
just
read
wanted
it.
to like go through it because I did want to do its due diligence in terms of like explaining this out to people.
I think it's good because some people think we might just be making this up. Let's just tell the people
They-
exactly
if-
what's in it.
I mean, if Republicans are watching, they probably won't believe it anyway. But I printed it out, and this is the nonpartisan CBO with a Republican appointee as the head of the department. So CBO estimate and JCT estimate, enacting this legislation will reduce the federal deficits by $337 billion over over the 2017-2026 period, which we just said about the federal budget. The Defense Department is at $574 billion. So it couldn't even pay for the defense budget. I mean, just what they are reducing the federal government to in 10 years could not even pay for the Defense Department. The largest savings would come from reductions in outlays for Medicaid and the elimination of Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Yeah.
I mean, an estimate in 2026, in the next 10 years, an estimated 52 million people would become uninsured.
52? Why did I hear 24?
In 2026, under the current law, so pre-enrollee spending would be capped. In 2026, an estimated 52 million people would be uninsured compared with 28 million who would lack insurance that year under the current law.
Gotcha.
The increase of number of insured people would rise to 21 million, 24 million by 2020. Yeah, it would just kind of increase. Average premiums for single policy holders in the non-group market would be 15% to 20% higher than under this current law right now.
Yikes. As it is, I'm already paying $300 a month.
Yeah.
I don't really want 15% more? So not cool.
It's crazy. The other, and we joked about it, but it's actually true that this reminds me, when Sarah Palin used to go around the country talking about death panels and like the Obamacare, the death panels, and blah, 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 this is why she's no longer a person, like out there, and they don't put her on TV anymore. But this is actually, what we're talking about right now is actually going to kill people.
Yes, that's what Bernie was saying at his town hall meeting, and he also threw in this number. He says that the savings for this healthcare legislation, and he doesn't even call it healthcare legislation, he calls it a tax break, but the savings that Trump promised is all going to the top 2%, who are going to save a reported $275 billion over 10 years if this bill becomes law.
So maybe this is because, Paul Ryan has been wanting his tax cuts forever. So maybe this is his attempt that he says, if I don't get the tax cuts that I want, that this is the way to get them. Let's slip this into the American Health Care Act and pretend like it's a repeal of Obamacare, but it's actually a tax bill.
It is. I totally see it as, because if it's not bringing down premiums, it's not saving us any money.
Right.
And that's what everybody who was cheering when Trump was saying repeal and replace Obamacare, they were cheering mostly because it's expensive. But if it's not going to bring down the price for people paying for their own premiums, i.e. me, can't be excited about it at all. And I know that the Affordable Care Act isn't perfect. I pay way too much given my risk and my health and age and all that. $300 a month.
Right.
I'm almost tempted to just pay the fine.
I mean, I think I pay about $300 a month for me and Tim.
And does your work put anything into that?
Work, well, yes, it comes. Yeah, it's employer based. Which employer based healthcare is under review with this act. People could lose their health care if their employee is paying into it as well, because it's going to affect that. Here in California, we have Kaiser, Blue Shield, a couple other places, a couple other locations that a lot of, at least here in Los Angeles, that a lot of the Insignia, that a lot of the employers here in Los Angeles kind of buy into. But those premiums will continue to go up. A couple of the other major provisions of the legislation would affect Medicaid, which did you hear Paul Ryan say that he's been dreaming of cuts to Medicaid since he was doing keg stands in college?
He really said the keg stands in college?
Yeah, he did say the keg stands in college. He said, I've been dreaming of this moment of basically capping Medicaid. It was almost, I'm saying verbatim probably. He's like, I've been dreaming of cutting Medicaid or capping Medicaid since we've been doing keg stands in college. That's what he said. Capping the growth per enrollee patients, most Medicaid, reducing the federal matching rate for adults made eligible for Medicaid by the ACA to equal the rate for other enrollees in the state beginning in 2020. So if you've got Medicaid between 2018 and 2020, chances are after that, according to the Trump administration and Paul Ryan, you will not have that option.
And this is where the Trump voters are going to get bit in the butt, because
Literally.
That's them. That's them. This, again, came up in the town hall. Did you see the Bernie town hall? I'm gonna guess you're gonna say no.
I'm gonna say I was watching Survivor, which started last week.
Yeah. Okay, but see, the thing is that not only was it Bernie speaking, there was a doctor from McDowell County who explained 75% of her patients are now Medicaid patients, and they don't realize that they have that because of the Affordable Care Act. She says that her patients don't like anything associated with Obama just because it's associated with Obama, yet they don't appreciate the very fact that they now have coverage, they have Medicaid because of the Affordable Care Act, and they're going to lose their coverage, as are coal miners' treatment for black lung condition and all sorts of things. Again, I want to feel bad for these people, but maybe I'm just not that nice anymore, and where I'm like, okay, you're going to get
It
what
does make
you...
us a little cynical, doesn't it? Where we're like, I mean, we had it.
I guess it's a little like allowing a alcoholic to hit rock bottom.
Yeah, but we're also drinking with them because we're in it.
Well, I'm just gonna keep working on keeping my liver cleansed so that it will survive.
We're only gonna
this
sip.
binge.
We're gonna sip. We're not gonna drink full out. Savings, the reduction. It will be a This bill would be a reduction of $880 billion in federal outlays for Medicaid. Savings of $673 billion. So basically, they are more concerned with saving money than saving lives. That is the Republican mantra in my head. That is what they believe, and that is unfortunate. So,
I mean, it's kind of feels harsh to say that out loud,
right?
But it is awfully true.
Or they could, you know what? They could do keg
die.
stands with Paul Ryan. That might save them. I don't know.
It is healthy to go upside down. I don't know if it's great to imbibe alcohol while going upside down.
I think I've only done one keg stand in my entire life.
Actually, me too.
Yeah, we're not very good.
No.
We're not very good at that. Beer pong and flip cup, I'm good at.
I have beginner's
Keg
luck at
stands,
that sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Repeated beginner's good luck.
A couple things that you guys might have missed yesterday. Neil Gorsuch.
Oh,
His hearing. Started his Neil Gorsuch, Supreme Court nominee, should have been Merrick Garland. Started yesterday. Should have been Merrick Garland. Started yesterday. Did you watch any of the hearing?
Yeah, a bit yesterday, some more today. There was questioning by, help me pronounce her name, Klobuchar?
Amy Klobuchar. Yep.
Okay.
Who was a vice presidential? Her name came up during the vetting with Hillary Clinton.
Oh, I didn't know that. But she asked a question to him about my favorite topic. Guess what it was about?
Citizens United.
Yes.
I know it. Do I win?
10 points for you.
10 points for me.
So Citizens United is the case that came out in, gosh, I can't remember now. Is that 2014?
Yeah.
Which basically says that corporations can spend however much money they want on political campaigns because political spending is free speech, and corporations have the right to free speech. And there's a whole heck of a lot of us that don't agree with that, and we want to get that overturned. And she questioned his analysis that because they can't outright ask them, do you agree with this ruling, that ruling? But she instead questioned his analysis of it and about what level of scrutiny the question about corporations being people should get. And I don't know, one day when we feel like being legal nerds, I'll explain the difference between the levels of scrutiny that that something is heard under, because it makes a huge difference. But it's a couple days law school lesson. But the problem was
that'll be the after show, guys.
Yeah. The problem is that he actually gave a good answer.
Right.
And so even I was like, I mean, this guy's smart. This guy's really smart.
Yeah.
He's slick. I think, he can say things that even put me to ease for like a split second, and then wait a minute, no. But he knows what he's talking about, and he even knows how to speak to get people like me to not worry so much, because Klobuchar came out and asked directly, do you think that corporations are people and have the same rights as people to their religious beliefs? And he said, oh goodness, no.
Right.
So you're like, oh, okay, maybe. But then when it comes to level of scrutiny, he still thinks that it should be a strict or something close to strict level of scrutiny, which means it's virtually impossible for the government to impose any limits on it. It makes it almost impossible. And he sounds like he kind of agrees with that, at least on a First Amendment analysis. Anyways,
Right.
so his enthusiasm of, oh God, no, corporations are not people, was not so enthusiastic when you understand how he interprets the law.
Yeah, I think Al Franken today, in terms of another case, said, I had a career identifying absurdity, and I know it when I see it. And he was talking about a case that Neil Gorsuch had presided over about a truck driver who was freezing in his truck, abandoned his truck, and the company fired him because they took too long to go and try to save him from the truck. And Neil Gorsuch obviously ruled in favor of the company. But the other thing that Neil Gorsuch said today was that he called Trump's comments about the judiciary disheartening in public, which the last time we heard that, it did not come up. It was not in public, and people just speculated that he said that. So the other thing that you guys might have missed last week was the Sanders town hall that Chelsea brought up earlier.
Way earlier,
way
and much
earlier.
earlier, because that's all I really like talking about.
It was on MSNBC with Chris Hayes in West Virginia, McDowell, West Virginia.
It was really good. Well, what do I have to do? I'll bring you over some like really
No,
nasty
I will
fast
go
food,
back.
or tie you to something to make you watch it. Because it was really good. And I know you think I'm going to hear Bernie say the exact same thing he said 25 million times during the campaign. But there was things said from Trump supporters that were really interesting. Like Trump supporters even agreed with him. Yeah, every American citizen has a right to health care. That's sort of a big deal to have somebody on the spot agree to. And the whole audience was like very enthusiastically applauding. So one day, I am going to bribe you into watching it, and you're going to like it. You're going to like it a lot.
Well, we're going to keep watching that, but we do want to get you guys into some of our trending topics, because we have a lot of things going on other than inside politics that we think you guys should be paying attention to. What's trending right now? Ivanka Trump is moving into the White House in the next couple of months.
Because
so
she wants her father to babysit her kids?
She does. Hashtag Ivanka Trump. At Jack North says, Ivanka Trump, WTF, not an employee appointee, gets security clearance, office, and comm development. What will it take for Trump supporters to question this administration? Also trending, Tomi Lahren, hashtag Tomi Lahren. Lawrence was suspended from the Blaze this week by that team for her pro-choice comments, which is crazy to me. Somebody on Facebook said, I cannot even begin to wrap my head around how insane, un-American, and strange that Tomi Lahren would be suspended. To lose your pseudo-journalistic job over a policy position is crazy. And the last thing that's been trending over the last couple of weeks is hashtag YouTube party. YouTube is over party. LGBT creators' content has been moved into restricted mode. Tyler Oakley, the famous YouTuber, said, "Got answers, YouTube?" YouTube's response to him and other creators was, "We are so proud to represent LGBTQ voices on our platform. We regret any confusion this has caused and are looking into your concerns." I don't think they have changed that yet. But we will get to that soon. So make sure you guys are checking out those trending topics, and we will always talk about them here. Chelsea,
Yeah.
You've got a charity to talk about.
I do. Okay, so sometimes when we're like way lost in our own sadness over the current state of our policies here all right, so we're obviously focusing a lot of the problems of the United States right now. Trump and buddies are imposing on us. But I think sometimes it's a really great idea to get out of our own country, to look at outside. And I was invited by Amnesty International to a screening of a film called The Heart of Nuba. I had no idea what I was getting into. Almost thank goodness I didn't, because I'm not sure I could have prepared myself for it. But what it was about, a film about one man, one doctor from the United States, is taking care of 1 million people in Sudan. Why is he the only doctor for 1 million people? Because the government, the president / dictator, whatever you want to call Bashir, is incessantly bombing his own people in this mountain region called Nuba. And all the aid workers have left, all the doctors have left, except Tom Katina, who the way that this was filmed, that, I mean, there are bombs going off there. I mean, you're just watching, your heart's breaking as you see the planes flying overhead and all the kids run towards these foxholes that they've had to dig and scrunch down and hope that they survive this round of bombing. It is the most heartbreaking thing I have seen in a really long time. I couldn't sleep, but I still think it was a good idea for me to see it, and I would say you should all watch it, except the movie doesn't have distribution. It was great to have, Christian Bale was in the audience at the screening, and he was livid that it did not have distribution, so maybe he will help it have distribution. But we urge you to go check out theheartofnuba.com, and you can give money to Tom Katina directly and his hospital. You can see on there at least the trailer of what he is doing, and be grateful that for as bad as things are going on around here, that we don't freak out when we see a plane overhead and know that the only reason that there is a plane overhead is because the government has sent it to bomb you and exterminate you, basically, so that the government can take back ownership of the land.
Right.
So I hate to be such a downer, but I think that there's really great value in witnessing the suffering of others and getting outside of our own problems for at least a little while. So.
Right. Well, check out The Heart of Nuba. We put up the graphic, and we'll tweet it out a little bit later. Chelsea, this is your first show. We are done already. It is so sad. We will be back weekly now. So we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Where can they follow you on Twitter?
At Chelsea Galicia.
You can follow me at Drexel Hurd. And thank you to Congressman Eric Swalwell for joining us today. Make sure you follow him at Rep Swalwell on Twitter, and follow him on Snapchat, which I will be doing a little bit later. We will see you all next week with a brand new show. See you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us, info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.